1998, of a silicon chip transponder in his left arm. The melding of humanity with technology has long fascinated writers and filmmakers, and the artistic and theoretic possibilities are explored in another new book by Marie Omani, a lecturer specializing in technology. You'll also hear from Kevin Ansell-Pearson, professor of philosophy at the University of Warwick. But first, Marie Omani, author of Cyborg, the Man Machine.
The term cyborg really came about in the 1960s, around the time of space travel, and when man was looking to travel to extraterrestrial environments. And one of the big problems in space travel is how to exist in zero gravity and how to adapt the human body to those conditions. So two scientists, Nathan S. Klein and Manfred E. Kleins, came up with the term cyborg, which really referred to this man-machine hybrid, which could adapt to existing in these extraterrestrial conditions.
For me, the exciting part of becoming a cyborg was to look at how limited humans are, in that we have 5 senses, that's it. So can we sense the world directly to our brain in all sorts of other ways, ultrasonics, ultraviolet, X-ray, and can we in the future communicate to machines to control them by thought? Who wouldn't want extra memory? Who wouldn't want to be able to think in hundreds of dimensions, to communicate not by this old-fashioned thing called speech as we do now? Let's upgrade, let's communicate just by thinking to each other.
The idea that in the future, as we all become fully fledged and paid up members of the Party of Cyborgs, that speech will become redundant, fills me with absolute dread and horror. You know, I have an aesthetic investment in human language through my love of poetry, philosophy, and literature. I think if relations between human beings become so transparent, or become that transparent as is predicted, we'll find them insufferable, intolerable. I think it's very important that within our psyches there's an enormous space allowed for dissimulation, for secrecy, for concealment.
Mission Control. Steve, what is it? What's wrong? I was hoping you could tell me. He's alive. He lost an arm, 2 legs, and 1 eye, but he's alive.
I'm not sure he'd want to live if he can't be the man he was.
What if he could be more than the man he was?
The main motivation, from my point of view, in creating the cyborg state is to not just enhance your life, but to live forever, to look for immortality, which is a very basic desire, and you can find it in most religions, and also back in Greek mythology. And if you take the example of Tithonus, who was granted immortality, but unfortunately he hadn't asked to retain his youthful good looks, so of course as he grew older he became increasingly decrepit. It really reflects on a more serious level why immortality might not work so well, because there are other issues that go with it, such as if you're going to live forever, what is it going to be like to live forever?
Everything I told Steve Austin was designed to reassure him that in all respects he'd be a normal man again. What I didn't tell him, because I didn't feel he was ready for it, was the extent to which he'd be abnormal. In short, what I hadn't told Steve Austin was that if my theories proved correct, he would be transformed into something that had never before existed. Cyborg.
If human beings were to become immortal, it would just change beyond recognition what it would mean to be a human being on the existential level. I mean, there's a long trajectory within Western philosophy, from Socrates through to Heidegger, which has made central to the human experience the experience of death. Socrates, Heidegger argue that it's the thought of death which is the ultimate inspiration for us to reflect on what it means to be human.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion.
The future role of the cyborg is quite an interesting one to contemplate, because do we want to give them all the tasks we don't want to do, going into deep space, looking for landmines, doing all the jobs we don't like doing? And if so, is that fair? Because they will be part human as well as part machine. Will they want to do that? When they have more self-autonomy, when their artificial intelligence is greater, will they say, well, actually, we don't want to do this. We want to do the interesting tasks, and we'll leave the boring things to you humans because you've got less intelligence than us.
RoboCop. Who is he? What is he? Where does he come from? He is OCP's newest soldier in their revolutionary crime management program.
On the other hand, one possibility that's already being looked at is military applications. Because you often hear the phrase of turning the soldier into a fighting machine. And if you're looking to create a fighting machine, the ultimate is a cyborg.
OCP spokesman claimed that the fearless machine has crooks on the run in Old Detroit. Today, kids at Lee Iacocca Elementary School got to meet in person what their parents only read about in comic books.
The film RoboCop is an interesting example of the cyborg in a military situation. So you've got this RoboCop who's part, big-hearted police cop that he always was, so he retains that human element, but he's also the fighting machine, so he can go and kill all the baddies much better than he could if he was just simply a human. So in theory he is the best of both worlds, but that's the theory of it. For him it's a complete disaster personally, because he's continually frustrated that he can't get close to his wife and child again.
Technology says to us now, do you want stronger arms and legs? Do you want a faster and more effective memory? Do you want to live forever? I think if we're honest, every single individual on this planet would say yes to all of those questions. But my concern is the Faustian pact that we make with this technology. Do we really have the knowledge, not the technical knowledge, but the philosophical or artistic knowledge to adequately respond and dramatize these questions?
Professor Kevin Ansell-Pearson. I, Cyborg by Kevin Warwick is published by Century, and Cyborg the Man Machine by Marie Omani by Thames and Hudson. $6 Million Man is available on video, as is Bladerunner, which is also on DVD, and that's the only format where you'll find RoboCop. Tomorrow, in a special edition of Front Row, Mark Rawson will be